Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, look, my guest today is a superstar in YouTube astrology. She really doesn't need a whole lot of introduction here. She's absolutely brilliant, the one and only Stormie Grace. Also, you may not know this, but she does have a PhD in business, and she is the perfect person to be teaching an astrology and business class at Synchronicity University. And that is coming up in January 2022. If you sign up before the end of December 2021, you can choose her tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, which is an unheard of rate to learn from the caliber of this incredible woman. So Stormie Grace is somebody that I talk about from time to time because to me, she is just a shining example of how to do things right. She knows her stuff. She's brilliant, and she is loving, and she is giving. And so she's got all kinds of accolades happening for her in her work as an astrologer now, and she deserves every single one of them. I'm so excited not only to celebrate here with you today, Stormie, but also to have her joining my school, Synchronicity University. Well, look, it's such a thrill. So welcome, Stormie. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me back some more. I always love to collaborate with you. And I love that people love when we work together. That just feels good, like the people enjoy our energy together. I think that's a phenomenal gift.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, I think because you are so loving and so positive and at the same time, you really know what you're saying and you say it in a way that's really accessible. So to me, it means a lot to me that people see commonalities or that we have some of the same fans. I think that that's really amazing.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So now we're going to talk about astrology and business together.
Yes. Let's work harder. Let's work smarter, not harder. So
Yes.
Why did you come up with that title? What does that mean to you?
Oh my goodness. I feel like it is the depth of my Taurusness that is this is far too complicated. We need to just be smart. Let's be smart and build something steady and sturdy and luxurious and delicious while also being in alignment and in tune with the universe, because it is hard work, but there's smarter work that's in that hard work as opposed to this force. I had this vision as I was working in my own business at a time of the bull, trying to drag something just through this field. And that vision kept coming to me. And I'm like, I am forcing, and there is an easier flow available here where I can still work hard because I work hard over here, but I work smart and it unfolds in a way that is these nuggets are left for me, the place to go next. And that is a much smarter way to work.
Do you think that everybody can have prosperity?
I do. I think that it is an abundant, available gift. I do not believe that everyone can have prosperity that looks the same as their neighbor. That's the other reason I think let's work smarter, because what is your prosperity vibration, right? And the other piece of that, Nadiya, I think is that the world, the media, it's busy out there. Just come and get it. We're all going to be millionaires. And I'm like, no, as a matter of fact, we're not, but you can be a millionaire in the stars. You can be aligned and have such fulfillment that doesn't look like your neighbor's, but it doesn't matter because it's yours. And there's a map in the astrology, I think, to be able to find that with some really nice ease.
There's so many things I just thought about as you were speaking. Prosperity, the way that you define it is so deeply personal. What looks like prosperity to another may not be the same to another person. I mean, I remember for myself, when I finished graduate school, my parents were like, oh my God, you have a graduate degree. You can go and you can get a job and you can make all kinds of money every year. But to me, the definition of prosperity and success was living in a way that felt really authentic to me, sharing something that I felt really resonated with my soul. And not everybody could understand that. But to me, I knew that was what I needed to be successful, to be prosperous, that it wasn't just about numbers. So it is something very deeply personal, and figuring out what that is and how to align with it, that's a personal journey as well.
Yes, I could not agree more. And, a lot of, I don't know if you can confirm this on your side, but a lot of what I have seen in this last couple of years, really since 2018, is people coming to me and they believe that they are in alignment with what they believe to be prosperity. And then we take a look at this chart, or we take a look at their business's chart, and they had not even thought in the direction of that energy, right? So it's almost as if I see people continuing to show up and look for permission, release, confirmation that it is still okay to strip down from some of these ideas that they genuinely were believing were their prosperity, and get in alignment with what's actually available. And that to me is grace and freedom and the beauty of what we can be out here doing with each other. Because I can look at a solar chart just like you can and say, well, here's some themes for the year. But what does that mean when we're asking people to come to us and allow us to help them see really what's available to them? Something different. It means something different to me these days.
Absolutely. And I love that you just mentioned the personal chart and the business chart, because I know that my business has a chart. My business was born, per se, like I consider the launch of my website, the foundational website, nadiyashah.com, the start of my business, which was midnight in Toronto, September 6, 2006. Yeah, that's how you say it. And that is the birth chart of my business. And so I think it's interesting that as part of your course, you'll be looking at both the personal chart and the business chart. How do you make the distinctions between the two? How would you help somebody understand the difference?
First of all, just that your chart is your chart in your energy, right? And it's kind of, without going too crazy with it, it's almost this idea that we were born and we came into time, and the creator, whatever we call that to be, the creative intelligence, dripped us as one little drop onto this universe, and we took our energetic stamp. So this is the one time we get to play universal creator, I think, with the business and say, okay, I think this is it. So then we have that energetic stamp. So no matter what, the way that we carry the frequency of this divine energy, our creative energy that was stamped on us when we came, our businesses will carry that vibration as well. But just like humans, the business has its own chart. It has its own vision. It has its own destiny, and it will complicate it if it gets in the way, right? It doesn't always do what we humans want it to do, right? We have to know more than I'm out here just always doing what I think that divine intelligence would have me do. So it's like a roadmap of two separate energies that are one, but they will move in different ways, and they'll have different seasons. If in your personal chart, you get into some of this progressed energy as well, and you're in a season of slowdown, but your business is in a season of let's go. How do we work with that? What is your balance that you can actually let both of you thrive? And those are things that I look at with people as we get in here. It's so exciting.
It really is so exciting. The other thing I was thinking about as you were sharing was that, so I've been in business, like I've been a full-time astrologer for over 15 years. And the first 7 years of my business, I lived below the poverty line in Toronto. And a part of the reason was, as I said earlier, like I was just very determined to pour all of my energy, all of my creative energy into what it is that I felt called to do. But at the same time, I love that your course is called Work Smarter, Not Just Harder, because I think about how I worked so hard. There was a period of time when I was working like 16 hours a day. I was working so much as I could. I was trying everything. I was seeing what would stick. And I think that's part of learning about yourself and part of the spiritual journey of any business, whether it's just the spiritual journey of the business itself or my own spiritual journey. But now I look back and I think, yeah, I could have worked smarter for sure. I didn't have to spend all those 7 years. And until I understood balance and joy and fun and dancing and making sure to honor every area of my life, that was really when I was able to enter a flow. And, you spoke earlier about how whether it's your own chart or your business chart, it can sort of take on a flow where prosperity becomes this like natural outflow of that. That's what started happening when I started looking at my own life much more holistically and thinking about joy and genuine satisfaction in every area of life, not just with business, that the prosperity really started to fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I just giggle because I have been there where I am just throwing all of this in it and we're doing the best that we know how to at the time, and I don't know about you, but I was scared and excited about business at the same time. And I really did. I wanted to try a little of everything, but also there was this fear, if I'm honest about it, behind it. Like, I got to do this. This has got to stick. I don't want to be the person who goes out in my business and it doesn't make it, or I get to that 5-year point and it doesn't make it. I had a lot of fear and bias behind it. So as I started to find my flow, a lot of the things in my class come from astrology plus experience plus study, right? Like, it all has kind of come together to help people, because what am I doing here if I am not willing to share my lived experience with you? What am I doing?
Absolutely. The ways in which we're able to share of our own lives, but also to demonstrate how being aware of our own lives helps us to be better astrologers. It helps us to help others that much more. I think is part of vulnerability, but it's also part of helping people to understand that, hey, this is a skill. Like, for me personally, it might be the Aquarian in me, but I feel uncomfortable when people say you're gifted and things like that. Like, I hear that sometimes, of course, because we're dealing with an esoteric art that is touching on truth in people's lives. And it's a beautiful sentiment, but I am very adamant that this is a skill and it can be learned by anybody. And if you're willing to be aware and practice and experiment, then of course you can get better at this skill of astrology. And so it's wonderful to consider how, you get to see me being vulnerable. You get to see me share my own fumbles as part of helping you not to have to go through that.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it? What is the quote? A burden shared is half a burden. And I think that, on the road to growing, whether it be in the actual practice of our astrology or the learning about business, because when we sometimes talk about business and money, that human gut instinct to tighten up can really come into play, and when we can share and walk each other home, then that's when I think things get really good. So we're going to get to focus in there, pick out the skills, and hopefully, my honest hope is that people will come, learn something about astrology, but also learn something about business. Because if you start going along your journey and you realize that astrology is not what you want to do, I really want to leave you with some skills or something in your thought process to go find where you can apply business to your flow and do what you're meant to do.
Yeah. And it's really good that you mentioned that, because this is not a course for people who just only want to do astrology. It's for you, no matter what it is that you do, how it is that you can tap into your chart to understand success and prosperity and align with it more fully, regardless of what industry or specialty you find yourself in.
Absolutely. And I know that from our camp already, we've got a couple of people who are signed up who are like, look, I don't practice astrology at all. Can I come? I'm like, yes, please do. You may find out something that just is that, like that mustard seed that clicks you into a different position where you can start to have a different experience with your life or your children or your romantic life, because it is all tied together. So I'm just excited, I think, is really what it comes down to.
I'm really excited too. I mean, look, your enthusiasm is contagious. Of course, people love that about you and so much more. But let me ask you to get a little practical here. So, because I know there's 5 classes altogether. So you can mention what the 5 classes are, but let's say the first class, what are some practical things that people can expect to learn?
Well, the first thing that we're going to learn is that you have a chart and your business has a chart. And what does that mean? How do we look at those energies and begin to even consider what we're working with? Where do we come to a natural ability of these particular energies? So by the time you leave that class, you'll know how to pull a chart if you don't want to get one, from me, or you don't want to do it in any other way. You'll know how to do that. Then you'll also know some prime places to look in that chart right away to start zeroing in on what's the energy that's available here. And that is the place that, I don't think that we can spend too much time on that. For people to have permission to feel into their charts, to feel into this business, especially, I assume if you're coming to this class, there is something about you or your business you want to know more about. Right? So we're going to spend a whole class getting into just that, just the get to know yous of that, which is really practical, because then from there, as we move forward and we begin to look at the honest, practical foundation of how do you build this thing? How do you get it to work? What kind of fuel does it need to run? And we start to build that business plan. We're going to get that all from the chart information that we found out as well. How do you work with your business, right? Because I'm telling you, I see it all the time. We'll have somebody who is I need to slow down kind of natural energy, and they've created a business that is a go, 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 go. So what does that look like in that business plan? Who do we need in your marketing sector to help you do that? So we'll begin to craft from there. And we're going to spend a couple weeks in that business plan. By the time you leave January, you will have a business plan in your hand. And if you've got one already, bring it. Is what you created on your own in alignment with what we've just seen in these charts, and how does it resonate? So I'm just obviously pumped about that.
Yeah, business plans are so powerful. I remember many years ago, again, when I was starting out in the first couple of years of my business, I was creating business plans and things like that, and trying to figure out, funding, basically trying to figure out which way to go. Yeah. And I had let it go. And then years later, I remember I found one of these business plans, and it was incredible how much had come to be realized that was in that business plan. It really is an amazing thing. But also, further to something else you were sharing, it is amazing how people will choose businesses and choose launch dates for businesses without necessarily taking their full selves into consideration. Like sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So for example, there is a business class that I teach just once a year in the summer for Kepler College. So I do that 5 weeks, once a year in the summer. And I always encourage students as well to come up with a chart to start your business. And you will see people, and, bless their heart, my job as a facilitator is to kind of point these things out. But I remember one lovely, brilliant student, and she had so much water in her own chart. And when she made videos, you could see all this water in her face and her eyes, and that was her strength. And she was choosing a business chart with an Aries rising. She was choosing a business chart. She said, because I want to be proactive with my marketing and things. And I'm like, okay, but what about working with who you are? What about thinking about what's going to feel most easy and natural and engaging? Like, it's different if you're the kind of person who really likes, getting into the trenches and talking about things and debating things. Okay, yes. But if you're really not, that may not be the way for you to go. So just having that awareness, but then consciously choosing a business that's going to invite you to cultivate the best of who you are, but then magnify that in your business as well.
Absolutely. And, what is the need that your business serves? Because starting a business, that's just not a successful thing. It's just not. There are so many businesses that fail because they just started a business. They don't know who or what they serve. So you create this chart and let that chart tell you exactly who and how it's going to serve. And that lights people up. It really does. So, we'll get to see that in the course to see, what people have come up with. And sometimes I don't know about you, but I find that people are like, no, I need a different date. We
Oh,
need to
yes.
launch this. We need a different relaunch for this business because it is just, I've been fighting with this business, or I feel like I've been pushing and forcing against it, you know? And so you'll maybe get an opportunity to say, let's pick something else by the end of this chart or by the end of this class.
So I'm going to be a little bit indulgent here, if you don't mind. Okay. If you don't want to do it, it totally is okay as well. But I was thinking, how do you feel about me pulling up my business chart? And you can have a look and see, like, I don't know, let people know something about what they might learn. They can see some of your beautiful expertise at play here. What do you think? This is the business chart.
Why did you choose, just curious, just out of curiosity, but why did you choose midnight?
There wasn't a specific reason. It was more like, this is the launch. This is the moment. It's going to be midnight. I'm hitting the button. And you know, what's interesting is at the time, this chart just intuitively felt right.
Yeah.
This was the chart it was going to be. So what was happening at the time? Well, look, I'm looking at the chart and I know now I had Jupiter conjunct my North Node at the time. I had Chiron approaching my 8th house sun at the time. So there was just so many changes, and my business was actually a part of my healing. Like, that's really what it came down to. The nodes are, the North Node is trining my 1st house Saturn. Uranus is trining my ascendant, part of fortune trining my ascendant. So these are things I realized kind of after the fact, that I was going through such massive changes, and I saw my business as a spiritual partner in the changes that I was going through. So this was, I mean, it just, I remember intuitively, it was like, no, this has to happen, and it's happening right now.
So one of the first things to note is that this business is a first quarter business in terms of its natal or business lunar phase, which means that first 7 years, we can just go ahead and laugh at that because the crisis in action, all the things, have everything going at the same time, little grass fire here, little project here, right? All of that. And as you've likely worked with this business and allowed it to unfold, instead of having so many grass fires, there's some kind of management that comes around where you're like, let me take all of this energy and like consolidate it and move it forward. But that's the nature of this business at its start, is that it needed to be busy and be all over the place, almost like an emergency happened. And the way you describe it is like, this chart has to happen, which is so funny because when we look at it, we know that that is the tone of your chart. Like, no, I'm trying to be alive, right? That's the baby that wants to be born. So right away, one of the things to know is that this business likes to move. It likes to be busy. There needs to be a fair amount of action and not just one thing at a time. And it's going to have this consistent energy of needing to burn down what has been and build something better all the way through, which I think is a really big deal to understand, because Nadiya, what this gives me an indicator of your business is that when it started, the same people, places, and things that were with you are likely not at this time. And that is a whole life statement, right? It's a first quarter phase when things don't fit the vibration of this business anymore, they have to fall through. And it's so that you can go to what's next. Does that resonate?
Wow. Wow, Stormie. You just like blew my mind. You know, it's always amazing to talk to other astrologers, to show charts to other astrologers, because other people don't always see the same things that you see. And it's happened quite a bit where I've been looking at my chart and being like, oh my God, this aspect is playing out. And then another astrologer will say, hey, you've got this aspect as well. And it's like, of course that aspect is playing out as well. Like it's incredible how different astrologers pick up on different things. And I really believe like I could stare at my chart for the rest of my life, and one lifetime isn't enough to know all there is to know. And so that really was quite incredible. I mean, sort of off camera, I could tell you so many stories of exactly everything that you said. That is so the nature of my business, is that there are these periods of reinvention, of just realizing that, okay, I've got to go a different way. I've got to do this a whole other, I want to start fresh, or I want to do this whole other project or this whole other wing, and to launch it that way. That has happened a few times. So it's interesting. That is the signature. So I might as well embrace it.
you might as well embrace it, because it just is what it is. It is the nature. I just love that you described that you just felt like this chart had to be born. That's a first quarter energy. Like, no, now, just now, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just, I mean, I remember it was September 1st, and it was over the course of that summer where I was really working on the site and using templates and knowing nothing and learning as I go. But it really was, I think now about all the experiences I was having leading up to that. And it was for my own healing, really. It was for myself, for my healing, for my empowerment. It was a reflection of me ready to take my life in a new direction and to honor something within me, not just do what it is that I thought I was supposed to do, but to trust something deeper. And it's amazing how it continues to fall into place, and it continues to reinvent itself
over and over again, which is interesting, because when we look at, and we'll look at it in the class as well, we look at my business's chart, and it was born to disseminate, right? So it is no wonder that when people look at my business, I'm like everywhere, right? I'm just out there.
Really are, yeah.
Sharing information, which the beautiful part is when we'll look at the alignment of it with my chart. I have Taurus at the midheaven, right? I'm not interested in reinventing the wheel. I'm not interested personally in doing that. I can get into something that has been around longer than I have and simply make it stable, luxurious, and practical. And then I have a business that says, great, give me something to talk about. And that is what we do.
Wow.
And we're going to see this in the class, how to align.
Well, look, everybody out there just saw Stormie's genius at play. And yes, learning how to approach the chart just like she did is part of what she's going to be teaching you in her course. Astrology Meets Business. Let's work smarter, not harder, which is something I wish you had told me 15 years ago. I wish you had been there to shake me and say, hey, Nadiya, you don't have to live below the poverty line for 7 years. But I know, look, I think all things are perfect. They work out the way that they're supposed to as part of our growth. And ultimately, our businesses, of course, they are for our success and our prosperity. But the spiritual growth, to me anyways, is always front and center. And so, yes, I'm so excited that you're going to be teaching this class. I think everybody just saw your expertise. And everybody out there, remember, if you sign up before the end of December 2021, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, which is an unheard of rate for a class of this caliber. You just saw how amazing Stormie is with her skills, her awesome skills as an astrologer. And boy, I'm looking forward to creating that business plan right along with you, because I feel like, yeah, it's time. It's time to get to that basic again and step to the next level, the next vision for where it is that I'm meant to go. And I'm sure so many people are feeling that, especially at the start of a year, you're feeling that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I just think that 2020 did its job. You know, I really think 2020 did its job, whether it was a wake-up call or an awakening of whatever variety. And we have really come to understand that the currency of life is time. And what are we doing with our time and our resources? And it's got to make a little bit more sense. So, you know, for those who this is the class, I'm looking forward to it.
Wow, that's such a beautiful way to put it. That is exactly it. I remember with 2020, I remember saying that all of us are having to sort of pause. All of us are having to get real in some way. And that is going to lead to big changes. And one of the changes is looking at how you really feel about your life. Like, you can't just be on automatic anymore. And we are seeing a lot of people now saying, you know, I want work that feels fulfilling, that brings purpose. They're not just willing to do what they've always done anymore. They're asking themselves deeper questions. And so my hope is that this course fits into that journey for people in some way, which I believe it will.
I do too. And I just want to add this. If you're listening and you are thinking, I don't have a business, I don't want to build a business, my work is that I stay at home or I'm retired, whatever that is, your life, you get to be the CEO of your life. So this class is applicable. Are you working in the vibration that is yours for your prosperity. So even if it's just that you want to stay at home or you want to volunteer, you don't ever want to work again, this class can really help you get aligned, and a business plan for your life will blow your mind.
Wow. A business plan for your life will blow your mind, and it'll inspire you, and it'll be exciting, and all kinds of fun things. Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. Stormie, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you back at Synchronicity University. I think you're amazing. So yes, thank you for coming back and blessing my school and the students. I think it'll be a wonderful journey that we take together this January.
As do I. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys.
And thank you everybody out there for watching. And until we connect again, take care. Bye.